Well, hey guys, welcome back to Let's Create with Alex Blake. I'm your host, Alex Blake, and today we have a guest on the pod. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Anna Laura. Anna Laura Anna Laura runs and is a host of a studio here in Charleston, and I am so excited to introduce you guys to her. Genuinely, she's such a fun presence. Even I know it sounds weird, but we've just been yapping this morning, Anna Laura.
Oh yeah,
Literally we got on and immediately we're like best friends on a call.
I'm so excited.
This is going to
be an interesting interview, I will say. Between pregnancy brain to pregnancy brain is.
Yep.
Y'all are in for a treat, I think.
I think so too. If you guys listened to my episode with Abby Joe a couple weeks ago, you guys know pregnancy brain is real, and we've already experienced it just yapping this morning together. So both of us are pregnant. Anna Laura, you are third trimester now. Yes. That's exciting. Yes.
Third baby, third trimester.
Yes. And she had twins first. So that's a unique thing too. But before we get into your life story side of things, tell us who you are just in general. Tell us, I guess, pieces of your life, but also your photography journey, your studio journey, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So I did not go to school for photography. I don't know. I'm like, is that allowed to say?
Honestly, but story of my life. Yeah.
Most creatives I talked to didn't start out in their creative field. I was actually a pediatric speech pathologist, and so I don't know, kind of random, but looking back, but it made sense at the time. And throughout, while I was doing that, I was building a health and wellness business, also not creative. But I built everything within that, designed the website, did all that, worked with a lot of photographers for health coaching, personal training and fitness things.
Mm-hmm.
And then started creating my own content. And then over time, I noticed I had more people coming to my website asking about photography and social media than about health things. So I'm like, okay, God, are you trying to tell me something? I should probably listen to that. And so I'd always had a camera in my hand from a very young age. And so I told my husband, I'm like, listen, for the third time in my 20s, I'm gonna change course again.
Switching courses.
Just we're just gonna pivot a little bit one more time.
That's such a in your 20s moment, though. The amount of times that happens is wild.
Right. Fine. Let's pick a path when we're teenagers, and then expect to be that was
no, it doesn't work.
So, took a little trial and error there, but learned a lot along each twist and turn. And I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to do photography, but hear me out. I'm not doing weddings. I don't want to do work with newborns. I only want to work with women entrepreneurs and influencers at the time. This is 2017, I think, maybe 2018. But I was like, I just want to work with women. And he was like, all right, you're going to do it. He knows me enough to know this is what's going to happen. And there was no looking back. There was very much such an alignment from the health and wellness coaching, getting all the certifications and doing all the things, felt like I was on the right path, but it was, looking back, it was such a grind. Then whenever I picked up a camera, it was so aligned. I'm not saying it was easy, but it just felt so much more in alignment. And it haven't looked back since. I started in brand photography, and I don't know if it was called brand photography then. I was like, women entrepreneur photography. Again, this was a decade ago now, I guess. And
it's crazy to think that, first of all, that was a decade ago. And second of all, it's crazy to just think how much has changed, especially you mentioned this, but in the influencer world and what it means to be an influencer, all of that has changed. So I bet your business model has had to shift over the years just in general for that too. 100%. But one thing I wanted to go back on, one of the early things that you said as you were just talking about your journey in general was you had this health thing and you had the speech thing, and you were and neither one of those are creative. But I do want to pause on that, because I think something that is cool to see in us is that it's not just when we do something creative, it's that we are creative. Because I think like you can see even in your journey, and I know we're going to get to this in a little bit. So, you know, little sneak peek, a little preview into where we're going. But I'm going to ask you like, when did you make the jump from just like a photographer hat to putting on business owner hat? And I think like you can actually see that in your journey from day one of you were creative in owning a business, and that's how you got into photography and content creation, because that's what you were doing when you were owning the business, you know. And like it is so cool to think about. Like one of the things that I often say is that I love to be a problem solver, and I think that's my main creativity. Like yes, I'm creative with a camera, I love to be a photographer, but my top creative, like I don't know, bucket, I guess, in my brain is strategy. I love to be creative with like, give me a problem just so I can solve it, you know, like, and that is creative too. It's not always being creative with your voice if you're a singer, or a dance if you're a dancer, or painting, you know, like there's creativity in a bunch of different areas. So I love that you went there. I think that's so cool. But I want to go back. Tell me a little bit more about like owning a business that is specifically for women entrepreneurs. What did that look like before you ever owned a studio or put on the quote unquote business owner hat and you were simply a photographer?
Just like the one like not hyphenated photographer. I think in some capacity, like I've always been like multi hyphenate, you know, like
yep. That's an entrepreneur right there.
Doing all the things like yeah. Like why pick one lane? But I think from like, first of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate you saying that strategy is also creative, because I think so often that gets overlooked from us creatives. We think because we're creative, we can't have strategy. And that's not the case. Like there's so much creativity in kind of putting the puzzle together and pivoting, like if needed, like, okay, let's re-strategize, let's regroup.
Right.
Because there's been multiple things along the road, like influencer photography. I thought that was going to be the thing whenever I started. Turns out it wasn't. And definitely fell into like working more with women-led businesses and women-led brands. And then when just before COVID, I think it was, I began shooting more products as well for women-led businesses, which was a godsend come COVID time, because people could mail me their products. And so I really got into product photography as well, especially during COVID. Started dabbling in video and things. So again, like it was never, let's pick brand photography and only be glued to that. Like you just have to stay open and, you know, be flexible with the journey. One of my best friends says like she's type A in her goals, but type B in her process. And I love that. I think that's
a fun way to say that.
Yeah. Like, you know, we can have goals, we can have strategy, all the things, but the way we go about it might not line up exactly as we wrote it down on paper 10 years ago.
What year did you have your twins?
2022.
Okay, cool. So how, this is not in any of the notes that I sent you, but how did that kind of pivot your business? Or I guess like when did the dream of the studio happen? Was that around like entering into motherhood? Or tell me a little bit about that transition. Because obviously I'm about to make that transition.
So the studio itself, so I've lived in like my husband and I, we've moved a lot over the years. Charleston's ultimately where we want to like plant roots, be like, we've been here the longest we've lived anywhere together. And we're going on our 10th year of marriage this year. And in all these different places that we lived in, like I started my photography business in Philly, and there was a plethora of studios around Philly. You could just hop into any one, and it was really cool. And then we lived in like outside of Austin for a little bit, like during the pandemic, and there were several studios there too. So all these different places I've lived in, I've been like, oh, this is so cool. Like I would love to have my own space.
Yeah.
And there's this one in particular in Austin, near Austin, that I used quite a bit. Like it was pretty new at the time. It's unfortunately due to COVID, something outside of her control. It's no longer in business, but I loved shooting in there. I just really saw like my own vision come to life. And I was like, I got to make this happen. So when we moved to Charleston, like I'm going to, you know, we're going to do that. But then I got pregnant, and then it was twins. But the whole time, I remember like being pregnant and getting on like these apps and stuff and looking at commercial spaces. Like I'm gonna have newborns and then open a studio at the same time. I guess I don't know what the
why
thought
not.
process was.
You're like, yeah, I can do this.
See what was out there. So it's definitely always been kind of like in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And at the time, there weren't a ton of studios here in Charleston,
Totally.
which I was surprised about. Like I really expected when we moved here for there to be more. And since then there have been more open up, which is really cool to see.
I think we had this conversation actually in person the first time that we met, because I said the exact same thing when we moved from Georgia. Georgia was very similar, very creative, right outside of Atlanta. Tons of studios, specifically daylight studios, natural light studios. And we moved here and I was like, where am I supposed to shoot? Like, where am I supposed to shoot inside? Yeah. Like, and I had a backdrop and I was trying to do it in my studio, but we had carpeted apartment floors, and it was hard. And I was so thankful when you opened up your studio, because I really felt like at the time that really was the only option for that, which was really cool. I think you opened up the doors in our community for that. So that's a really amazing, I think, testament to your hard work in that, which is really cool.
Well, thank you for saying that. No, it was just something that I loved using, like I said, in these other cities, and just really wanted to bring that here. And then also the community too, I think is a huge part of it too. Like I've always been really just in my like personal life story. I'm an introvert by nature, I will say. But I love community. Like that doesn't mean you can't also love people. And just so being able to like facilitate the environment for people, I think is a good kind of, make blend of the two.
That's really cool. Yeah. I call myself an extroverted introvert, like I'm outgoing.
Are we twins?
So we really might be, honestly. I am outgoing and I could talk to a brick wall, but then when I'm done, I need to go read a book inside and I'm done,
After this, I will be like,
yeah, no, seriously, I'm batch recording today. So I record 2 podcasts and they're back to back, and I'm like, okay, after this, I'm done. I'm not talking to people. I am a hermit after this. Like I'm going in my shell. But I love it, and I love community. So I do love that you bring that. And I'm going to ask you that a little bit later, bring that into your studio. But going back to what I was talking about before, where you kind of made the shift into this like business owner mindset before opening up the studio. When do you feel like that shift happened? What do you think that was like? Tell me kind of the journey with that.
I think I've always tried to carry myself like as a business owner, just working with other business owners.
True.
Like I never really wanted to I never saw myself as like just a photographer. Like I really tried to treat it as a business. Even when maybe the income wasn't necessarily like to business level, like it was definitely like side hustle level. But I will say, I remember a huge shift. I'm trying to remember the year. It's been within the last 5 years that I shot with a friend who had just started a business. She had been in corporate for forever and then was starting her own thing. And she hired me, and her words to me when she saw my price sheet was, I'm not going to lie, I thought you were a legit photographer. And then I saw your pricing.
And I was like,
oh girl,
that's a rough one to hear.
She said it with so much love, but I was like, oh, and that just
it's a compliment at the same time. Like, I mean, it's like,
I don't want to say
like, backhanded, but it's a helpful compliment.
Exactly. It actually was like such a turning point in my business. Like I went home that day and I was like, you know what she said to me? Is she right? And my husband, he's like really, he's really gifted with like operations numbers. Cool. Like his brain works on the total opposite side than mine most of the time. And so we sat down and looked at things, and I talked with one other friend that's in the creative field, and she's like, I remember I worked with you like 4 years ago and your pricing was the same. Like, yeah, you probably need to up that. I was like, okay, fine. But I'd just been scared to raise my pricing. But what I didn't realize was that was also signaling, like pricing is signaling. And if you study anything, look at anything, just know that like the numbers you put out there also reflect like to someone else, like the type of work, the quality of work that you do. And I thought I had really high quality work. And then she said that and I was like, okay. But that was like kind of the catalyst too of really taking things to the next level. With the business in regards to business ownership and not
that
just
is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you start looking at the studio, you're kind of dreaming about the future. And obviously you've already said like you were just like pregnant and looking at commercial
just
spaces.
I was up. I mean, I had newborns and I'm like scrolling the apps and I'm making calls. And I had I think the boys were maybe about a year old. And I had actually like visited several, and I have documentation on my phone of every single space that I had looked at. Like this was definitely becoming less of a pipe dream and more like, if I can just find the space, I will do this. But it took forever to find the space, probably a good 2 years. And then I found this amazing realtor who's now a dear friend of mine, Christy, and she worked with me for probably close to a year. She would send me things, I would send her things. And then lo and behold, of all places, Facebook Market. I had never searched for studio space. I had never done this before. So this is very much a God thing. I searched, I don't even know what I searched, to be honest. But this space just like came up in my, you might like this. And I saw a picture of the front room, which if you've been here, it's like the most lit, like just bright, tall ceiling, beautiful room. And I saw that and I was like, I want it. And I sent it to my realtor friend and I was like, is this real? Like, is this a scam?
Am I getting scammed? Yeah.
She was like, it's not even on the MLS yet. Like, I don't know. Let me check into it. I was the first one like in the space to look at it. And then that day, I was like,
amazing. Like, guys, I don't think you understand what this space is like for this kind of story. That's insane. Like, it's literally on King Street, downtown Charleston. Amazing studio space right above a little coffee shop that's like super popular and so perfect. I know you spend all your money there.
Literally. What doesn't go to rent goes to the coffee.
Every time I go to your studio, I also spend money at that coffee shop. So like this is a really amazing story knowing. Like I had no idea of any of that. That's really, really cool. Yeah.
So crazy.
That's amazing. Okay. So what were kind of your steps even just like of knowing that you were ready for a jump like that? Because I feel like obviously it's a jump and it's a leap of faith anytime you do something like this. Like you're never going to get away from that. And I understand that. But also you got to be smart with it. If your husband's is logistic and operational, he's not going to let you jump too far,
Right.
So when did you kind of feel like you were ready to make that shift?
Yeah. So there was like, and it's funny that you asked this. My husband and I were recently talking, like kind of reflecting on all this too.
Yeah.
There's always been that strategy piece, that the long game, I guess. Yeah. Like this has never been just, I'm going to pick up my camera and I'm going to hold my camera until the day I can no longer hold my camera.
Yep.
Because so like with kids,
we are
like,
the same person. I'm hearing this.
So see Alex's life plan and probably like copy paste.
Yeah. I love it. Come back to me in 5 years and then we'll see what happens with my life. Maybe I'm accidentally modeling it after Anna Laura. I'm not sure.
But like with so I have twin boys now, who are now 4, and then another baby boy on the way. And then, I knew like having kids and doing this, I mean, there's long hours and they're not necessarily consistent hours either. And so I wanted something that was, what's the word? Not as maybe direct facing as like if you don't shoot, you don't get paid like as a photographer.
Right.
And so not something that's passive, because I will say nothing about studio life or ownership is passive, but maybe less direct, 100% of the time. And so having kind of a plan to like, okay, well I can be at their T-ball game on this day and then I can go to the, being able to balance things a little more in terms of like a life planning. And I've totally forgotten the question. I'm not going to lie.
When did you know that you were ready to take that step?
But
I do want to pause on this though, because I think that's so smart, especially as women. And I think like when we get into photography, of course, we love the creative aspect of it, but a lot of the time too, we love the freedom of it. We love not having a corporate job. But I think on accident, in maybe it's our youth, maybe it's that we're single when we start photography, or we don't have kids or whatever, we accidentally create the business we don't want just because we think we have to work 9 to 5, or we accidentally become workaholics, or what did they say? Like when you go into full-time photography, it's actually 24/7, like that kind of thing. And that doesn't have to be the way that you live. That does not have to be the way that you run your business. And I think, like, for me, the biggest thing was that freedom. Like, and Alora, we haven't talked about this a ton. If you guys listen to the podcast for forever, you know this, but like Zach, my husband, is a pastor, and being able for me to have like almost what feels like the ability to have part-time photography hours so that I can give a lot of my time for free to the church is a massive deal for me. And like, I wouldn't be able to do that in a corporate job. So the freedom of photography is this beautiful thing because it allows me to build my life the way that I want it. And like I said, as women, if we are one day planning on having kids and having a business that is able to sustain that and still provide financially for our families, then it's important that we think about that. And not saying that, like, if it's 5-10 years down the road for you, you need to make a plan now. No, of course not. But it is smart to think about, like, am I building a business that's sustainable, or does everything revolve around me? Because if it revolves around me, then it probably ain't gonna be sustainable. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, and that's 100%. I mean, I think can be applied to any business across the board. Like no matter what you have, like if you go into business for yourself, make sure that it stays like how you wanted it to look, and don't let it run you. Because I've definitely fallen into that more than once, even recently. And I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, time out. What's not working? Reassess. Something's got to change. And most recently, that's looked like having a team and like onboarding, beginning that process and not wearing all the hats. But back to your question about like when are you ready? You're right. You're never 100% ready. Like there is that like faith component where you just gotta like step out and know that God put this on your heart, and if it wasn't for you, then He would not have done that. But then like tactically, like what does that look like? You got to examine all the things. I mean, finances obviously are huge, especially if you're buying or leasing a commercial space. Like there is a level of commitment there. And so making sure that, you can sustain that. And then operationally too, like if you're shooting 100 million weddings or whatever you're doing in a year, like will you be able operationally to sustain the all the things that that comes with studio ownership? Because as much as I would love to say it's build a beautiful space and people just like show up and it's awesome, man, like that is not it.
That's so funny. You're like, no, actually I do a lot of work.
There's so much. If you had seen me before this, I'm like hauling up Clorox wipes and Swiffer pads for, like all the fun, like cleaning activities that go on. And there's just like, there's so much more that goes into not only creating, but also maintaining a beautiful space. And then the community, all of it. Like there's just a lot. So just making sure that you have the margin of, I think, finances and time and in really some capacity to like, to pull the trigger. And if you're 80% there, you're ready. You're, like I said, you're never going to be 100%, like, because what you don't know before you open is, well, I know I want it, but do other people want it? Like you don't have a 100% guarantee. You think you think do your market research, like be diligent in your research, but you're not going to have all the answers before you start. So,
and that's with anything. Like maybe you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't ever really want to open a studio, but I mean, anything entrepreneurial is exactly what you just said, Anna Laura. Like I mean, every photo camp that I have, especially the first photo camp that I launched, but every photo camp that I launch, it's like, I hope people come.
Yeah.
It's like I already put finances towards this.
Yeah.
Hope they come.
Yes.
Hope I get my money back on it, my return,
Yes.
Like, we'll see.
And the first year you might not. Like that doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means reiterate, get better, try it again. And that was something we considered too. Like there, not to get like doomsday, but there are very real things out of our control, like COVID, that closed down the studio I love so much in Austin. Very real things that are far beyond your control that you just can't see coming. Or maybe people don't want the studio like you thought they did, or something like that. You're just not going to have 100% of the answers before you pull the trigger. So
and that's where the leap of faith comes in. But that does kind of take me to my next question too. How do you feel like studio ownership is different from what you originally imagined? And I know you kind of touched on that a little bit with like bringing up the Clorox wipes and like that kind of stuff, but talk about that a little bit, because I think it's so important. If you are interested in owning a studio, like here's some of the things that Ana Laura did not expect but does all the time.
Listen, I actually kind of made like a little bit of a list, because it is very different. And this is something that like I didn't want to forget to say, because y'all,
pregnancy brain.
I don't want to keep saying it, but it's so real. Okay, things I wish I'd known. Like I said, it's not just having creating and maintaining a pretty space. It's really running a very real operational business. And I don't say that to sound like scary or talk you out of it, but the reality is it's not just creativity all the time. Like, what was it? Systems, I think, are like the biggest thing. And I thankfully failed forward and failed fast with the systems that we have in place, and being able to put things in place like a automatic door lock or something. So systems, policies, maintenance, communication, and boundaries, like, were all things that I learned very quickly, that I knew would be a part of it, but didn't expect to be like so much of studio ownership. And I think that's probably like a good 80% of what I do is just like reassess all those things that I just listed. And then the next 20% is getting better, making sure that we're like aesthetically, like, on top of things. But it's
the important piece to the photographers,
Yes, exactly. So I think it's way more operational heavy than I might have anticipated, but that's not a bad thing either. It's strengthened me across the board in so many different areas too.
So how do you feel like you handle that? Because obviously that's a lot, right? And it really is switching your brain from what you anticipated creatively. Like, oh, this is really going to be filling, and it's going to be a space for community, and I'm going to be able to set up different backdrops and like all of these things. And then it's like, oh no, this is really admin heavy. What do you do to handle the admin side of scheduling or going back and forth with renters or blah, blah, blah?
So a lot of it, like, I will say, having at least as much as I can automated has been helpful. But that's not to say I don't talk directly to clients every single day and guests that come into the studio every single day, because I 100% do. But I think that's where having a team comes into place. And that's something else starting out that I did not have. It was like really a one-woman show. I don't wear that like a badge of honor, believe me, but you got to start somewhere, and then you grow and you get better. And thankfully last year I was able to onboard our first team member. And I realized like what a godsend that is to free up is things like sending access code emails and like these little onesie twosie things that add up a great deal. And especially when I'm running like a whole media company as well, in addition to the studio, like there's, flipping back and forth between those can be tedious. So as much as I can like offload to like an admin,
That's really good.
like a manager has been so helpful.
Yeah. Do you use the same system for scheduling your photography clients as scheduling for the studio?
Nope.
Like, what does that look like?
I wish.
You're like, no.
I wish it was like
You're
all
crying.
streamlined and just like, right. Yeah. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different apps, but I found like certain ones work better um, for the studio side.
Sure.
Like Honeybook, obviously for the media side is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way to integrate them. I'm not like a systems expert. I just found something that worked and works really well. Like Acuity is what we use
Okay.
for the studio, and then but there is a lot of manual things involved, like the access codes. Like currently, to my knowledge, listen, if y'all know of something that can automatically generate a lock code, like a custom lock code for a certain time, but currently there's not, and so there is like a manual, like an app that we use, and then we have to input it into an access code email. So yeah, if there's like some AI bot or something out there that exists, that hit me
DM
up,
her,
like DM me. That would be amazing.
I will say though, just to encourage you, for me, one of my favorite parts about your studio, besides what I already said, it being obviously cute and natural light and all that kind of stuff, is that you do the access codes. Like seriously, I love it. There's other studios in our area that I've been to where the person has to be there. And it always just feels a little bit like the person's great, of course. And I really like them.
Being watched.
Yeah, a little bit, especially if I have like seniors there where they're like, I mainly work with like young female seniors. And it just can feel a little bit like invasive almost. That's a very harsh word for it, but it can feel that way, and I'm a pretty personable person, so like I'm gonna yap, but like if the senior's a little bit nervous or whatever, like having that and just having like our space to ourselves at a studio like yours where it's the access code matters. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking about getting your own studio, that is something worth investing in on the client side. It also allows you to sustain your business, back to what we were saying before, because it's not dependent on you. Versus one time I was renting a studio here in Anna Laura. I think this was before you guys even opened, if I remember right. Or maybe you guys were scheduled at the time or something like that. And so I had to go with someone else. But I had scheduled for my senior rep team at the time to like have this big party thing at a studio and scheduled it. All of them were invited. Like it was kind of a big deal in my business. And something happened in the studio owner's family. And so he had to cancel. And that was like, like, I had to kind of push back on it and be like, I can't move this. Is there any way? But also like trying to care for the empathy of the fact that something happened in his family, So he had to send like someone that he trusted, like he had to send a friend to be there. And it just made it more complicated on his side. And I remember looking at that as like a business owner mindset, being like, man, that's really hard. He needs an access code,
Right? Yes. And that was one of the things, definitely, in terms of research, I guess, like I'd already been doing research, like I said, Philly, Austin, like all these different places. And very few of them actually had someone on site during,
and that was the case
session.
For me in Atlanta too. Yeah. So I was surprised here, but
and like here, and I had like a couple of photographers like, oh, you're not like here. I'm like, no, you have like private access during your studio
You're
time.
Like, I have cameras, but
like don't get me wrong. Like we'll see what's up, but like, we mainly just to like make sure, things are okay before and after. Right. But like during your session, like I'm not going to be like, what are they up to, girl? Like I'm not, like, there's 100 other things that you go. Yeah. That's not why I opened a studio. But yeah, just to make sure things are, running smoothly and efficiently. And that things are properly like reset afterwards too. Especially if we have like back-to-back sessions, which has definitely happened even just like yesterday. And just making sure that, things are like smooth,
clean.
transitions all around.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Well, as we end out, what is one thing that you would tell someone who wants to open their own studio in their area?
Like I said, about taking the leap. You're never going to feel 100% ready. So rewind a little bit, make sure you have a few things in order. But I would also say, take a look at what's in your area right now, and how can you add your own flavor to it? Like, what I love about the Charleston studios that exist right now is, and even the ones that are opening up, none of them are the same.
Yeah.
They're all so different, which I think is really cool and adds tremendous value to our community.
Yeah.
Because everyone can kind of find their own flavor. And so if you're considering opening something, don't copy paste what someone else is already doing. Sure, it might work for them, but I think, not to bring this back to branding, but like if you copy pasted someone else's branding onto your brand, people are going to know. Like it's just never going to read as authentic or genuine or anything. Like you can take lessons that other studios have learned or, things that you like about them, but how can you make them yours? Yeah. And so, I just wouldn't recommend copy paste. Like do your research and figure out how to add your own flavor.
I love that. And like we said with so many different things in this podcast, that is with everything in business. That is not just a lesson for a studio. Like seriously, I've loved this episode because I think there's so many nuggets in here for so much more than even the topic we're talking about. This is so good. Totally. So, okay, as we end out, Anna Laura, tell everyone where they can go and find you and follow you.
Yes. So definitely check out the studio. We are at shinestudio.chs on Instagram. And then my personal page is at Anna Laura Summer. Would love to connect with y'all. Like I said, I'm an introvert, but I'm still up in the DMs. Okay. So please message us. Tell us, what you want to see in the studio, especially if you're local or planning a visit to Charleston. We would love to see you. We would absolutely love to see you.
I love it. Cool. Well, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.